Well, in talking with various American athletes, we know that President Clinton has been in touch with them, so we decided why not try to get in touch with him. So earlier we had the privilege of talking with the nation's #1 fan, and here's how that conversation went. Joining us now from the White House is the President of the United States, Bill Clinton. Hello, Mr. President. Thank you for joining us on Late Night.
Thanks, Pat. I'm glad to do it. I've enjoyed watching your program.
Thank you very much. Were you jealous that the First Lady got to come over and you had to stay back in Washington?
I was very jealous. Hillary and Chelsea love winter sports, and they were so excited about going. They had a wonderful time, and I wanted to go. Yeah. They both love to ski.
What's it like being President of the United States and seeing all of our athletes doing so well with just a bundle of medals bringing it back? It must.
Oh, it's just been terrific for me. You know, I rush home after work at night and try to turn on the Olympics and see what's going on, and I've tried to call or send a wire to all of our medal winners. I've just been so proud of them. And there are lots of sports, you know, where we didn't quite win medals, but where we were competitive for the first time. So I think our team did very well, and I'm very proud of them.
We were talking that you've watched the Nancy Kerrigan skate a couple of times. You had it taped. What'd you think of that?
I thought she was brilliant. I was so proud of her. I was so proud of the way she came back from her injury and the way she sort of shut out all that ridiculous clutter that was around her. And I also, frankly, was very proud of the way she responded to the result last night. The young woman from Ukraine was, I think, brilliant in her final, and you know, all of us Americans, we would have voted for Nancy Kerrigan,
right.
But I think you have to understand how close it was. The judges had a very tough decision to make. They made it, and I thought Nancy Kerrigan we all ought to be proud of her, not only for how well she skated, but for how she's handled herself. She's really been, well, everything you could ever hope for in a young American. I've been very, very proud of her.
Speaking of handling yourselves, the Serbs and the Croats and the Muslims on the Bosnian team all seem to get along over here. Do you find that ironic, sir, what with everything going on in Sarajevo?
Well, I do. It doesn't surprise me because I see the Bosnian government. The Bosnian government's had Serbs and Croats as well as Muslims in it. Sarajevo itself for many, many years was a peaceful, multi-ethnic city where all these folks lived and worked together. The main newspaper in the town had Serbs and Croats and Muslims on the staff. And I'm hoping so much that this latest effort in and around Sarajevo and the work that's going on now in Washington and elsewhere in trying to get a peace agreement between the Muslims and the Croats will eventually lead shortly to a peace. That there's been enough killing there, and they need to stop. And I think maybe they know they need to stop now.
And enough killing everywhere, I'm sure you agree. How can we package the power of the Olympics, do you think, and spread it worldwide? I know obviously you're big on that idea.
Well, one of the things I think we can do is to ask ourselves, what is it about the Olympics that makes it work? Why can a team come here from Bosnia, made up of Muslims and Serbs and Croats, and work together? Why do the children who come together, the Israeli and the Arab children who come together and get along so well? How can we do more of that kind of thing? What kinds of contests and interchanges can we promote among warring factions within countries and across national borders to try to help make people understand that there have to be peaceful ways to settle their differences? I think that's very important. Now, I also think in this country, one of the most important things we could do for our young people with all the violence we have among them is to recreate that sense of teamwork and respect for others that athletics brings. I wish we could bring real discipline and athletic activity back to all of our young people. You know, the very best athletes can still rise out of poverty and out of violent neighborhoods, but in many of the public schools, they don't have physical education programs and intramural sports anymore and baseball after school and all those things. And I would like to see a real Olympic-like effort among young people in trouble spots around the world and in trouble spots here at home.
I was talking to the Vice President a couple of weeks ago about another subject close to your hearts, and that's volunteerism. And we noticed it at the Super Bowl and here, too, that in these big sporting events, so many people get together, volunteer, and help the event. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I love that. That's one of the things I love most about the Olympics and about a lot of these big events. That was at the core of my national service proposal. You know, this year we'll have 20,000 young Americans working all over America on problems with people in communities oftentimes in this summer working to help them be safer and earning credit against their education. And year after next, we'll have 100,000 young Americans doing that. And I'm hoping that that will be the beginning of getting millions and millions of more Americans involved in dealing with their problems at the grassroots level. You know, our government cannot solve all these problems. A lot of our problems are people problems. They have to be solved one-on-one and in groups. And there again, I think the Olympic spirit can really have a positive impact here in our own country in getting more young people to do these things.
Well, we know you jog and run every day. Are there any winter sports that you participate in that you're good at, Mr. President?
Well, you know, we didn't have a very strong luge team in Arkansas in the summertime when it was 110 degrees. I hurt myself skiing about 10 years ago, so I haven't done that, although we did. My family went cross-country skiing the other day. I've got a picture I wanted to show you.
Oh, great. Let's see it.
Actually, here we are training for one of the Nordic events in the Olympics, and we didn't make the team, but I was hoping at least we could make the rock and roll highlights since we were one of the thousands of disappointed athletes not invited to participate in the Olympics.
I will guarantee you, sir, here and now, that you will make the rock and roll highlights, and you look pretty good form right there.
Thank you. Well, I like cross-country skiing. I want to try to figure out how to do it. When Chelsea was a child, I learned to ice skate well enough to get around a rink without falling down. I mean, I was not any good at all, but I could get around the rink without falling down just so I could be out there with her and she wouldn't be alone, and we enjoyed that. But Hillary and Chelsea can ski, and they love the winter sports, and I'll sort of be jogging in a winter outfit and cheering them along, I think, for the rest of our lives.
Next up for us is college basketball. Before I let you go, how about those Arkansas Razorbacks, huh? Number one in the country.
I'm really proud of them. You know, they got a chance to go all the way this year. They're so talented, and they're so disciplined, and they're so deep. They have a wonderful coach, and they're great young people. I was in the dressing room with them along with my family not very long ago, and I'm just elated by their success. I'm really pulling for them to go all the way.
Mr. President, with all that's going on in the world, I know you're very, very busy, obviously. Thank you for spending some time with us. We enjoyed it, and I'm sure the country did, and thank you again, sir.
Thank you, sir. Goodbye, Pat. Thanks for bringing us so much enjoyment.
Hard to top the President of the United States, but we'll give it our best shot.